Good morning and a happy Saturday. Yes, before you ask, I am still recording from a hotel room. This should be the last or second to last time that I have to do it this way. I apologize if the camera work is a little bit herky-jerky. I don't really have a tripod, but I'm making it work. I'm committed to doing these videos every week, and that will not change because I am on the road. So today we're going to talk about Scream 7. I really do love the Scream films. The original Scream came out in 1996, subverted a lot of people's expectations about what a horror movie could be. I think there was some hesitancy by the studio system to give Wes Craven the carte blanche to do what he wanted with a horror franchise that also threw in a lot of comedy elements and kind of poked fun at the horror genre overall and was very meta and kind of subtly tapping on the fourth wall. And ultimately, that movie was highly successful and it was great. It got a sequel that took them all out of college, gave us a new set of killers. And then the third movie had one killer, a little bit of a weird kind of decision regarding who that was going to be. And that movie, I think really the first three movies, the first one's great. Second one's pretty good. The third one is probably the weakest of the three, but I don't hate it. I actually really do still enjoy that movie a lot. I think the first three movies I could just go back and watch at any time and be totally satisfied watching them. I think they connect overall pretty well together. They kind of all still have the same look and feel and style. And I think all those movies are varying levels of good. I really do. I know people like to dump on the third one. And then we had a pretty big jump in time between 3 and 4. We had 11 years between Scream 3 and Scream 4. And in that time, a lot of things had changed. Streaming had become much more of a thing on the internet, podcasts everywhere. So the film had, I think it had one of the better and more compelling and interesting choice of villains. Leaning so hard into the streaming and podcasting stuff, I think took away from some of the film. I don't think it looked particularly good. Wes Craven was doing this thing that he was it was like a career trajectory where he was making these movies with these really heavy, dark filters that made everything kind of look like a vignette. And none of the other movies look like that, so it was kind of strange. And then 4, I think, was fairly successful. And then we got another 11 years between 4 and the reboot. So between 2011 and 2022, we had that 11-year break. And then we got a remake. I'm sorry, not a remake, a reboot of the franchise. It was taking place in kind of the middle of COVID times. It dug really hard into the requel, sequel, reboot narrative. Talked a lot about who the killer could be. We're going to investigate this friend group and try and figure out who the bad guy could be. And it also tied directly into the original by giving us Billy Loomis's daughter as a main character, which was interesting. They had a kind of slightly ham-fisted way of bringing Skeet Ulrich back in the way of I don't know, him being a voice inside of his daughter's head. And is she going to turn out to be a bad killer like he is? And I think that movie is effing great. I love Scream 5. It's just called Scream, but I love Scream 5. I think that movie is awesome. The ghost face in that is extremely hyper violent. It's really dark and messed up while also being really funny. And I think also one of the better villain reveals. Very much a lot of callbacks to the original film. They also killed off a beloved, probably the most beloved character apart from Sydney. She wasn't as much of a part of that movie. She has 1 or 2 brief scenes in it. And then Scream 6 came out and there were some issues with her, with Neve Campbell feeling like she wasn't being paid enough money. So she sat that one out. They moved the entire thing to New York City. And I thought that movie was also great. Again, really great, compelling villains. I think it was an interesting choice to bring back Kirby from the 4th movie, who we thought was completely, totally dead. And overall, very different, putting it into a major city outside of smallish town California, I think worked well for the film. And overall, thought it was great. Love Scream 7, love Scream 6. And now, all this time later, I mean, it's just been I think it's been 3 years since we got that movie. But this one, it really struggles to find itself because it's trying so hard to do something unique. They got back Neve Campbell. They gave her monies. Courtney Cox is back. And they're kind of like the beating heart of the movie, along with Sydney's daughter, Tatum, named after her close friend from the first movie. And it's just, how can I describe it? There's a place for a horror movie involving the use of deepfakes and AI. That is a story that can get made. It really can. But this is not the movie. They implement this storyline about possible deepfakes, and are these characters that we thought were dead actually back? One character in particular. And is this a deepfake? Is he really alive? And it just completely falls flat on its face. And I hate to say that because I really do like these movies. I think maybe it's time for another break. I don't think these movies are dead, pun. I don't think this series needs to end. I think that it just needs another break. I think they got to figure out what's next. The AI parts of the story completely overwhelm it and make it feel cheesy and dumb, which is just not work. It just doesn't work for this movie, and it doesn't work for this series. Tell the AI story, but get it right. This movie feels very rushed. There was definitely some behind the camera, off-screen issues between its two main actresses, Jenna Ortega being one of them, and they're not coming back also harms the film. It just does. We really grew attached to those characters in the last two movies, and now they're just not here. They do bring back Mindy and Chad, but for no purpose. They apart from like a couple scenes and a few like lines of dialogue about the narrative and the meta aspects of it, they don't contribute anything to this movie. The kills are fine. There's one that's like gruesome just for the sake of being gruesome. I will say that this movie has probably the best like shoot them in the head moment that we've seen in a while. It actually had me like bust a gut laughing out loud. So they do deserve some credit there. I would probably say this is like the second worst Scream movie. I don't love 4 at all. I think this movie is kind of up there in terms of quality. I just don't think it's very good. It's like a fine horror movie, but it is not a good Scream film. So I'm a little disappointed in this one. I expected more from it, especially after what we got in 5 and 6. So yeah, that's what I thought of this movie. Let me know what you think in the comments. I think maybe another 4 or 5 year break where they figure things out and get the right directors. Kevin Williamson, who wrote the original film, I think he wrote the entire original trilogy and maybe the fourth one too. I don't know what his involvement was in the later films, but he wrote this one and he directed it. And he just doesn't seem to be able to get his hands around the aspect of directing a movie like this, especially when it comes to the narrative and the story, which he wrote. So it's a bit of a problem. They have some stuff to figure out. Ghostface and this faceless killer that has ties to the main character is still an intriguing concept. They just got to figure it out and get it right next time. So thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you liked it, found it helpful. Let me know what you think in the comments. Am I way off base? Is this one of the better Scream films? Let me know. And I'll see you next Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern.